Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brandon Shank, and welcome to the Brandon Shank Podcast.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Brandon Shank Podcast. As always, here with my main man, CB.
What's up, world?
What's up, world? We're recording on a Thursday because I was gone on a Wednesday, and it is what it is.
It is.
Shout out to my boy.
I like to say it's what it's.
It's what it is. Shout out to my boy Brian Briggs, Destination Church. Got to be with them yesterday. Always a good time. Briggs is one of the best dudes you could ever meet in your life. So if you ever get a chance to meet him, go meet him. Go up to Hopewell,
High
Virginia.
praise. High praise.
Great guy. Great guy. Fantastic guy.
Whoops, my bad. Someone at my front door.
That would drive me nuts. I hate notifications on my phone. I hate them. I turn all of them off. In fact, if I want to know what's going on, I will check it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But you are a man of alerts, and you know you're probably a lot safer and probably a lot better off than me.
I kind of need to be, though, a little bit.
Yeah. All you listeners out there, how many of y'all are notification freaks? My mom is a notification freak. It's like ding, 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 boom, boom, ching, ching, ching. Fox News update. I'm like, are you serious? I mean, that happens all day just for one thing?
Listen, and I will say this. I'm sorry to my wife. I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit.
Don't ever start with that. That's not a good segue.
But she knows. She already knows. Talk about it all the time.
Okay.
So,
all right.
When you have a Ring doorbell, the whole point of it is you should be notified when there's motion at your front door. So I want to know what's happening. But here's the problem. My wife, as your wife does, loves plants. And so she has ginormous like palm type stuff right at the front door. And so the wind blows and that little bit of motion triggers it. So that's why it goes off all day long. I'm like, you need to please move those plants.
I don't care who's at my house. I just want to say. So I just want to put that out there. I care less.
Fend for yourself.
Yeah,
Casey.
y'all. I don't really care. Just unless you're invited. You come by. I mean,
yeah. Gotcha.
Not everybody will be there. I want to start today off giving credit where credit is due to the WNBA.
Yeah.
Now, I know that the years WNBA's financially had problems and the NBA's had to help it, this and that, but I think it's making a turn because Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
Casey said it best. My wife, we watched her play her championship game. She goes, she is the Michael Jordan of women's basketball because she will change that game into a competitive. There's a lot of great women that were drafted, right? But she will change that game. Like I will watch when Caitlin Clark is playing. I've never watched a WNBA game in my life. Yeah. That's not a sexist thing. It's not a chauvinist thing. It's just a simple thing of like the women's sports that I love to watch is tennis. And I think Serena Williams and Venus Williams to thank for that. I love watching women's tennis. I don't watch as much anymore because I have to have a dog in the fight. I don't know if there's a lack of better words. Like for me, I like watching sports, but if I don't have a dog in the fight for a lot of these competitions, I usually don't watch them.
Yeah.
Now, if it's baseball, I'll watch it. Football, I'll watch it. But some of the other stuff, if I don't have a team that I even care about or a player that I want to watch, I'll watch it, but I'm not watching a D3 football game, like on TV.
Yeah.
But Serena and Venus, I'd watch them. There's a lot of great, tennis players I'd watch. Kornikova, like there's just some tennis players I'd like to watch. Sorenstam when she played, like there was just tennis players I watched. Guys, obviously, it depends on who's playing, but the one sport that I like women better than men is soccer. I've always liked women's soccer more. And I know why.
Yeah.
Because in the 90s, we won it, right? Yeah. Mia Hamm, like Brandi Chastain, like that whole group. I was convinced Mia Hamm was going to be my wife one day when I was like a middle schooler, I got a Sports Illustrated for Kids. Mia Hamm was on there. I was like, man, she's a great athlete.
Yeah.
And so that's Casey always knows, like, you're lucky you got to me before Mia, But Mia Hamm was a great athlete, and she was just classy. She handled herself well. Really loved watching her, and so I just really liked women's soccer. Even now, if I could choose between the two, I generally like to watch the women's soccer. Now, I say that because, Caitlin Clark has made me want to watch the WNBA.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a lot of other great athletes and this and that, but she has made me want to watch it. She is going to change that game. And, it's cool because her boyfriend played basketball and baseball at Iowa, and he works for the Indiana Pacers. And she just got drafted by the Indiana Fever.
Very cool. I didn't know
I was
that.
like, how cool was that?
That's
really
what I mean? Cool. Yeah.
So good for them. So, hey, Caitlin Clark.
Also, her jersey sold out in like an hour.
Well, it should.
It's like the highest selling draft jersey ever.
I would love to get one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm all in.
I love it.
I love her. I can't wait to watch her play in the WNBA. But I will watch. Those are the games I'll watch. But that's what I'm saying. When you have a polarizing player like Michael Jordan, even if you didn't like the Bulls, everybody knows the Bulls theme song. The Sirius is what it was called, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows this song. Why? Because everybody watched Michael Jordan, even if you didn't. Now, in the 90s, nobody hated Michael Jordan. You just didn't like him beating your team, but everybody respected his game, right?
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark for the WNBA is going to change the game, and I can't wait to watch it. So shout out to you, Caitlin Clark. Shout out to the WNBA. I think this is the turn they're making. I think they're going to financially, I think Caitlin Clark changes women's basketball forever. Forever. So I have a thought today that I want to bring to all of our listeners out there.
Okay.
Years ago, Major League Baseball had a rule where they had to put the nets up from the dugouts up, like down the first and third baselines, like in all the stadiums.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, because we were continually, as the players got stronger, the balls were hit 100 miles an hour or more off the bat. People were being carted out left and right with facial lacerations, concussions, and near-death experiences in ballparks from sitting along the sides.
Yeah.
Is this true?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's plenty of evidence out there.
I'll never forget the picture of a woman being carted out at Boston, right? I mean, there shouldn't be kids with blood all over them from family members or kids with blood all over them from their face from a game.
Yeah.
All right? Baseball implemented these screens. And when you go to the games, it doesn't change the game. It actually, when you're there, you're thinking, how is this not done sooner? I remember being at Camden Yards as a kid or being down on the first and third baseline. And when I first took my kids and thinking, this is not safe.
Yeah.
I don't feel safe down here because my kids can't defend themselves and they're two seats over, whatever. So thank you, Major League Baseball, for doing what you need to do. However, how long will it take until the golf implements something consistent?
Bro,
at the Masters,
I saw a clip.
At the Masters, there is a 30-yard width, and people on both sides. There is a reason guys like us don't play those tournaments, right? Because if it was me, the storyline, I would have more people that I injured in a golf round.
Yeah.
But these pros, you are one shank away from mortality. I want to know, at what point does pro golf say, you know what? It hasn't happened yet, but we have to do something to protect people because it will happen. I don't care if it's been the golf clubs are getting smarter, the golfers are getting stronger, the velocity is getting greater. They're hitting distances now that were unheard of back in the day with Bagger Vance. They had 3 clubs. They had a putter, a wedge, and a driver, right? Or an iron and a driver. It's a very different game today. And with all the technology, I am telling you right now, when you guys are hitting the ball 350, 400 yards, one awry shot is lights out. And it is not hard to do. And I know these guys are pros, and you say, well, it'll never happen. Well, Major League Baseball implemented something that was never needed in the 20s or we don't know about, right?
Yeah.
So why not implement something now? And it's not hard. Just don't let people stand there. Like, don't let them stand there. If it's deep and it's 400 yards, listen, all of us have ever played golf, have almost got hit on the golf course. Yeah. Everybody has. It's funny to me when you're on the golf course and somebody almost hits you. Now, it's one thing if you're playing golf. For those of you who don't know, when you're golfing, it's etiquette to not drive up the back of somebody. And what that means is if you're golfing, you're on a hole, and you hit your drive, whether or not it was far or short, the people behind you should not drive until you've hit your second shot. They shouldn't drive up to the back of you. Now, all of us have had those times where somebody drives up to the back of us. We're like, hey, man, come on. Like, you turn around, you kind of give them that stank eye. Like, come on, dude. Like, we know the rules. I know you want to play fast. I'll let you play through the next hole if there's only 1 or 2 of you. But let's be sports here. Good sportsmanship. However, there's also that thing in golf when you're sitting somewhere and somebody hits a shot of their life they don't recognize or realize, and you might even be on a tee box and the ball falls beside you, and you look back and say, oh, you're trying to hit me, man? It's like, come on, dude. Let's be honest. It is impossible for any golfer I've ever played with to hit somebody on purpose that is 200 yards away.
Yeah.
And so I think it's funny when guys are ready to fight somebody. I'm like, dude, do you really think he meant to do that? Because if he did, he'd be on the Masters.
Yeah.
If he could hit you from where he's at, he wouldn't be out here playing with us at a $20 course. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So my point is, I think that there is going to be something. There's got to be something because this will become an issue. I don't care there is no way in all of humanity that this is safe and will be for an extended time. Somebody is going to get demolished.
Saw a clip the other day. Now, granted, it wasn't at the Masters or whatever, but it was a pro golfer. And again, like, he's chipping out of the rough and people are just like right there. Like, you're 10 feet in front of them. And I feel like you're only like maybe 5 feet off of his main line that he's hitting. And in this clip, the guy gets hit in the back of the head. It's like
drop.
You can't see, it's off camera. You hear it though, and then you see the aftermath. Yeah, he got hit in the back of the head. You don't see it on the video.
I'm telling you, you take the driver and you accidentally you actually get under that thing, or you get over top of it, and that ball is sizzling off that tee and hit somebody. It's lights out. It kills somebody. Hit you in the head. It could be lights out.
Yeah.
These guys are their swing speeds are over 100, 110 miles an hour. You know, like
it's intense,
or more than that. So
just back up, people. Just back up.
It makes me more nervous in the Masters this week, in the final 3 holes. I was more nervous for the people lined up on the sides of the golfers than I was for the end of the Masters. I was just like, oh, I hope we don't see something awful here. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So I was like, this can't be. At what point do they? I think we are always, our culture, everybody, honestly, because you go overseas, you see the same things. It's everywhere in the world. We are reactive more than proactive. We always wait till there's a problem before we fix it.
Yeah.
And my thing is, I'm telling you, Live Golf Tour, PGA Golf Tour, I'm telling you right now, fix it before it becomes a problem. If somebody dies because they get hit in the face, you're telling me they signed their special waiver before they came to golf. If somebody dies and they get hit in the head by a pro golfer, you're telling me that people aren't coming after you and after money, even though they willingly stood there.
Yeah.
Because you can sue anybody for anything these days, right?
Yeah.
You're telling me that if somebody dies, that you're now, I am just saying, listen to me. If you get a shot of this clip, if you hear this through the grapevine, trust that the Lord has brought this to your ears. Fix this, because it will. I'm telling you, this is going to be something tragic if we do not fix it now. It is that. When I saw that, I was just amazed that we still allow it.
Hopefully, you don't have to say I told you so.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I mean, already with these diet shots in Zipvic or whatever it's called, like we're already talking about that, and people are now suing. The week after we talked about it, 2 weeks after, people were suing. I am telling you now, fix it, because it will be a tragedy. And I'm not even talking about the money. I'm talking about somebody's life. Like, come on, golf. Like, fix this. I honestly am just amazed. Like, we make jokes of it. You see it all over the internet. Like, oh, if that was me driving, all these people in this front row would be missing their teeth. Yeah, of course they would, because you're not a pro. But at what point we act like pros aren't human?
Exactly.
Can you imagine sitting 40 yards in front of that guy driving off the tee? First of all, you can't see the ball.
Yeah.
You have no chance of protecting yourself.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people would ever stand there to get a shot. I just can't wait to see him drive. You can't wait to see him swing so bad that you're willing to take one for the team.
You're filming on your phone too, so you're not even actually looking. You're just
I have watched golf shots hit trees and hit people, or come out of trees and hit people, and still hurt.
Yeah.
Just come on, man. Fix it. Fix it. I'm telling you, please fix it. I do not want to be having a conversation.
How would you fix that? I mean,
tell people not to stand there.
That's what I'm saying. People
you make people move. It's one thing if it's one thing when you have the galley behind the hole. If you drive into the hole and it's an overshot, that's still very different than a driver.
Oh yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Like if you have something that's lofted like a 7 or a 9, these guys are hitting 9 irons 200 yards.
Yeah.
When you have a 9 iron that high, I mean, you're sitting in the galley and that thing comes straight down. It'll hurt, but a driver, if you go awry off the tee, that kills somebody. Just saying. Ding. Maybe my driver would. You know what I mean? So maybe.
Well, you've seen me play golf. I'm on T1 and I'm hitting into 7 somehow because I shanked it. It don't even matter.
It's bad. Let's go to fun facts. Corey, what do you got for us today?
Hey, I got a fun fact. And this fun fact this week, apparently, it's been widely debated all over the internet, all over socials. But I'm going to pose a question, and I want you to just think about it.
So we're going to combine this fun fact with you asked for it.
It is.
Hit the you asked for it, Corey.
Oh, God.
Hit it. We're going to combine them.
I'm not anywhere close to you.
We're going to combine them.
Here it is. I made it somehow.
Don't blame me. You asked for it.
All right. We're into the fun fact you asked for it combo day. This is a dual post right here. Here we go.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this question. Is water wet?
No.
Good response. What? Can you explain why?
No.
Just think. That's what I'm saying. I want us all today to just think.
Water is a molecular structure combined to create a substance that, although appears to be wet,
just think.
It's molecular. That makes no sense to me.
You had the right answer, but why? We're all going to use our brain power today and just do some problem solving.
Of wet? Maybe we start there.
You're hitting this right on the head, Brandon.
Corey, I am a doctor.
Okay. So I'm not going to look up the definition of wet, but think it through. Think it through. This has been wildly debated, by the way. Again, I actually agree with the scientific answer is no, water is not wet. But there are reasons why it's not wet. So we all need to just think and ponder and question.
So we say it's not wet.
Yeah.
And what did I say after that?
You said a whole bunch of jargon. You talked about the what is the definition?
I need to know the definition of wet.
Well, let's look it up while you're thinking.
What's the definition?
You want to know the definition?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wet, covered or saturated with water or another liquid.
Yeah, so wet is the product that water can provide, but water itself isn't wet. Is that what you're saying essentially?
Yeah, so basically
water can make something wet, but water itself is not wet.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically they say this. Most scientists define wetness as a liquid's ability to maintain contact with a solid surface, meaning that water itself is not wet, but can make other things have the sensation of being wet.
That's what I just said.
It is a state of wetness is a state of being.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm brilliant. I mean,
and so water itself, it's a pretty crazy thing. Water itself, not wet. It makes the world wet, but
I understand that. I mean, it does make sense because it's something that can create wet, but it's not itself not wet.
Here's where it gets crazy because people go into examples to prove that water is not wet, and this gets maybe a little bit more muddy. So I'm going to explain some things. For instance, someone says heat. Wetness is like heat. When you touch a hot object, you feel heat, but the object itself isn't heat.
That's not. Oh, the object itself isn't heat, but it's hot. But it can permeate.
It's
heat.
producing heat, but it is not itself heat.
I mean, that makes sense.
They say fire. Fire can burn things, but fire itself is not burnt.
I feel like that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we always say, everybody says, well, did God make evil? And we say, no, evil is the absence of light.
Yeah.
Evil. So evil itself is something that's created by something not being there. It's not something that is created. It's something that when God is void, when God's not in something, evil exists, right?
Yes.
So evil is the constant state. God comes in and changes that constant state because when Satan was given the earth, evil is the state, but God comes in and changes that state.
There we go.
So it's the same concept. You'd have a blanket that is not wet. When water is applied, it becomes wet, but water itself isn't wet. Wet is the byproduct of water being into something.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
There you go.
I'm not against it. I think it's a stretch because I think we say water's wet, like in our English language and our understanding, like, yeah, it's wet.
Yeah.
And it's just easy. Like, I just need to get wet. I'm hot, right? And so you go get wet, but it would be water being applied to you that makes you wet.
Yes. Not the water itself.
Yeah. Which I think is a scientific stretch and it's just for conversations for podcasts. But I do agree.
Well, I think it's also an exercise in grammar. It really is. So,
yeah. Well,
cool.
It's a good exercise.
I wanted us all to think a little bit today.
I liked it. Yeah. Let me ask you all a question. So in the comments, let us know. I want to know, what is the craziest snack that you like to eat? When I say crazy, I'm not saying I like Cheetos. No, I want to know, what is a snack that you like that, people might think you're a little weird? I've heard some weird stuff this week about this.
Really?
Weird stuff. Like one guy likes to dip his carrots in ketchup.
Ooh,
that's foul. Another guy likes to eat peanut butter sandwiches with Doritos in them. That's gross.
That's okay. I mean,
I can see all of these things because I like carrots, I like ketchup, I like peanut butter, I like Doritos. I get it.
Yeah.
Another guy likes to eat. This one grosses me out.
Okay.
French fries with mayonnaise. That sounds.
I just don't like mayonnaise.
Foul.
I don't see how. I mean, if you like mayonnaise,
disgusting.
You just don't like. Do you not like mayonnaise?
Why would you want something tart and with a French fry?
Is that like a? Yeah. That's what I think of, like horseradish.
Yeah, it's like. Well, listen, I saw this video this week of this woman eating with her husband.
Yeah.
And he didn't know she was doing it, but she was trying to eat at his pace.
They've been all over the internet.
Is that like a thing?
Yeah. Lauren and I have been trying to think about doing it. There's no way. There's no way she can keep up.
Well, it was gross because, eating makes me sick. Like, if I watch people eat and it's like overflow, it makes me sick. Like, that's one thing that gets my gag reflex. And this woman's like eating and she's like dipping French fries in mayonnaise and her mouth is so stuffed and she's like doing it. And first of all, I want to say this. Internet is undefeated. But can I ask everybody why? Why is everybody doing this? Like, why are we just following? We're like a bunch of pack rats that just follow We're like sheep. I mean, the Bible's not joking. We're like sheep led to slaughter. We just like left, right, left. You know what fashion is? Fashion is trend. You know what trend is? Following the crowd. Like everybody's like, oh, you're out of fashion. Well, maybe it just means I'm not like everybody else. My point is, everything in our society that tries to give you false credibility is nothing but following the crowd. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Right? Videos online. Remember the ice bucket challenge? Looking back, like, it's just stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now, my point is, I didn't know this was a trend, but it made me sick.
Yeah.
This girl's like shoving a burrito in her mouth and then French fries with mayonnaise, and I was literally like, like this. I'm gonna throw up watching it. I cannot watch people like do that. It just gives me the meat sweats.
I think it's hilarious. I think it's great.
It's disgusting.
I mean, it's just like a fun little, like, you know, there's all these ladies out there trying to keep up with their husbands or boyfriends or whatever. You realize, like,
my wife would never be able to do
some
it,
of those videos. And you realize,
she would not eat that fast.
Goodness, I do realize you're like, do we eat like that? Is that I probably eat.
Some of the dudes when they're eating, I've watched them. I'm like, bro, like literally, you don't chew.
Slow down, man.
Like,
slow down.
I know I eat fast.
Some of those guys, though, I will say this: my wife knows this. When I eat, I'm not a. I kind of like do this. Not that I can't eat little things here, but most of the time I eat from like my worst to my best. So like I save the best for last. That's my mentality.
Sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes always got to go last.
I don't mix things.
Whenever you're at Christmas, Thanksgiving, you'll think.
But these guys are like eating French fries, taking a bite of burger, and then swigging some soda, all in the same mouthful. And that to me is like, yo, like let's not do that.
Yeah, my thing is just I don't really care how people eat. I just don't understand. The trends.
There's also another trend.
I mean, I'm cool with it. Thank you for posting that video because it gave us some content.
I think that trend now went into this trend that I see now, where basically you have one meal. So they go out to fast food and they get one meal, and then they're in like their like tailgate of their car or something like that, and they do Rochambeau, paper, rock, scissors. And if you lose, you got to run to some designated area and run back. And while they're running, you're eating the meal, and then you keep playing, and the person who gets most of the meal, I guess. I don't know. It's weird trends, but
that's disgusting. The last thing I want to do when I'm throwing down a burger is have to run.
Run and eat as fast as you can.
This is what I want to know. I just want to know this. Where is everybody getting their time? Where are you getting your time to record anything? I hardly ever have time to. If anything you guys see on Instagram, I post once every little while. Most of it's all stuff coming from our content here, and I want to do more. I honestly don't think about it. I don't have time for it. Like I just don't designate time for it.
Yeah.
And when people do all this stuff, I'm like, where are they getting their time?
People just be sitting in parking lots coming up with games.
I wonder how many kids they got.
None, probably none.
How many kids y'all
They
got?
definitely don't have four
Unless
boys.
It's your job, which is cool.
Yeah.
But what's the craziest snack? What is the craziest snack y'all have eaten? What's the craziest snack that y'all like? I want to know the answer to this. Post it. Let us know. I want to know the craziest thing you eat that you think maybe other people may think's a little weird. I'll tell you mine.
Yeah, go with yours because I'm still thinking.
I have a post-workout thing that I've done for years. I
know where you're going.
All right. It's chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Fairlife. Shout out to Fairlife. We'll take that sponsorship. Peanut butter sandwich, thick on the peanut butter, wheat bread, and I dip it in the chocolate milk. I like the soggy bread with peanut butter. It's delicious to me.
Weird.
My wife thinks it's awful. She thinks it's disgusting. It nauseates her. Gotcha. So I'm just bringing it out here to see, is that weird? I feel like I look forward. The only reason I get up to work out is because I know that's coming.
Yeah.
I used to love working out when I was younger. Now that I'm older, everything's just like, it hurts, whatever. But I do it. Why? Because I'm getting my Fairlife. I'm getting my peanut butter sandwich. Now I don't do it all the time, but I would say at least twice a week. It's my jam. I love it. And it's early in the morning, so you can burn them calories throughout the day, you know?
I mean, I would do that. I don't think that's super. I could see how people
because you're a texture guy.
I am a texture guy.
And the fact of you eating soggy bread blows me away.
Yeah, that's a surprise. You know, this may sound a little weird, but in my opinion, it's not that much of a stretch from that to like an open face roast beef sandwich where you've got gravy all over bread. So.
And that's just something you love.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably one of your favorites, if I would say.
Open face roast beef.
I would say it's probably one of the things I've heard you dad or like chicken fried steak or something.
So homey.
So what's yours? What you got?
Mine. I don't really like snack weird, so it's hard. I don't know if you.
What do you eat weird?
That's
anything.
where I'm going.
Anything, y'all.
And so I'm probably going to take yours and notch it up even more. But it's similar. I don't know why, but you've probably always seen people at Wendy's. They dip their French fries in their Frosty.
Oh, delicious!
It is delicious. For some reason, as a kid, and it has stuck with me through adulthood. I would go to Wendy's and I'd get a spicy chicken sandwich and I would put my Frosty on my chicken sandwich.
That's disgusting.
So I'd literally scoop some out. I don't know why as a child I did that, but there's something about the sweet and the spice that is really good. It does make it soggy. I get that it's weird, but I like it.
See,
I don't know why.
It's the cousin of what I'm doing, but that sounds disgusting.
It's further. I took it further.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you took it way further.
Past the line.
I just imagine this liquid, because Frosties melt pretty fast.
Here's what I would love
just
to see.
Liquid
though.
Frosty melting down with soggy bread and chicken.
I would love. Here's what I want to happen though. I'm going to talk to all the people right now. Go do it. I'm just go do it.
Spicy chicken from Wendy's and a Frosty.
Film yourself. If anyone out there wants this challenge, it's Corey in the Corners, spicy chicken Frosty sandwich. Go try it. Just try it. Okay? Don't hate it till you try it. All right. I know you got to waste $12 probably in today's economy, but go try it. It's good. It's good. I like it. I don't get like all the fixings either. You know me. I'm a plain guy. Plain spicy chicken sandwich. Put some Frosty on there to your liking.
So for me, I can imagine taking a bite of the sandwich and taking a bite of Frosty and throwing it all back. So I understand it. Like, it's just how you're getting it.
It works. I'm telling you, it works.
I'm not hating on it.
It's weird. I get it.
But it's definitely something a child would do.
Every time.
It's definitely something I'm like, that's a kid's meal. That's not like something as an adult, you're like, I'm going to throw Frosty. But that's why I do what I do. Because when I used to come in from the cold, I lived in Garrett County, freezing. My mom would make toast and hot chocolate, and I would dip it in the hot chocolate. And
toast and hot chocolate?
Toast.
Oh, man.
She would just make toast with butter on it.
And you dip it in the hot chocolate?
Yeah, like toast with butter, and you dip it in hot chocolate, and you eat it.
That's probably even more weird than your peanut butter.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I like the soggy bread on the chocolate. It's like, it brings me back. It's just like something that's connected.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's like a kid's meal, but now I'm an adult, and I love it.
All right.
So let us know what y'all like.
Yeah,
let us know what you like.
We want to know.
We may send you a bag of something.
And also challenge.
Or we may send you a gift card to Wendy's. Who knows? Let us know what y'all like.
To recoup your money.
Yeah. All right, so here in the news, I got two things I want to talk about. The first one is this. As y'all know, O.J. Simpson died. 76-year-old, died of prostate cancer. O.J., his family. But you know, O.J. was in this battle. O.J.'s payout, let me get this right. So O.J. Simpson, let me see here. I'm going to get this right. So Fred Goldman's claim, Fred Goldman was the father of the man that O.J. Simpson supposedly killed with his wife. Okay. So the families, let's see here. Ron Goldman was the man that O.J. Simpson, that his wife was having an affair with, that O.J. Simpson, everybody says he killed him. He was acquitted. But Fred Goldman, so now O.J. Simpson, there was over $30 million that he owed them in, in all these different things, and he never paid it. He paid a little over $100,000 while he was alive. So they said that has gone up to over $100 million that he now owes them.
Jeez.
They don't think he doesn't own property.
Yeah.
There's probably a reason.
Yeah.
Like O.J. Simpson, a lot of stuff he did was cash, they said, and he didn't own property. A part of that, if you're asking me, sounds like O.J. Simpson knew that at any point all that could be taken to pay these people if they really took him to court. So he never owned anything. So whether or not, so all the stuff in his house, it's his estate, the houses that he rented in different states, he never owned them. So all this stuff, they're saying, will be sold to try to pay the debt back to this family, to where therefore his kids may get nothing.
Yeah.
Now, who knows if he had a stash of cash in a safe that he'll never tell anybody about and his kids knew about. I'm totally assuming that there may be a stash somewhere that OJ just kept putting money away and his kids know about it and nobody will ever know that it existed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how he get away with it, but they're saying that he owns over $100 million, that there's a chance his kids won't get much, or if they do get stuff, they'll be taken to court and it could go on for another years and years. These people are trying to get their money. It's just sad at the end of it's just a circus, you know? It's like, you know, he went to jail for 9 years in Vegas and all these different things. Yeah. It's sad because O.J. Simpson never rebounded. You know, it was like there was never this positive thing that came out of his life that, you know, never made it right. And it's just like, man, dude was a pro football player, had a lot in front of him, could have done incredible things. And what it brought me to think was, in our life, there's a lot of people that I try to help as a pastor, a lot of people that I believe in, a lot of people that I pour into, a lot of people that I know God's given vision for their life to them, and they don't do it. And the reason it crushes me as a pastor is because I'm realizing the older I get, I'm 41, so I'm hopefully maybe not even halfway through my life.
Yeah.
But I realized a lot of people die the way they are and they just don't ever change. And this isn't me slamming O.J. Simpson. I didn't know O.J. Simpson. I don't know his family. I don't know what kind of personal life he lived. I don't know if things, I'm just telling you from the outside perspective of what people are saying, maybe he did change. I don't know. I'm not giving any of the benefit of the doubt. I'm not making accusations. I'm simply saying when he died, the Bible talks about, a good man leaves an inheritance to his family type thing. And now his family's having to deal with the stuff he didn't deal with.
Yeah.
And you just think of in our life, some people just never change, man. I've watched people go through their life a particular way and they just never change all the way to death. And you're like, that's the best. You want to live like that? Like that's good with you?
Yeah.
It's his own prison.
Mm-hmm.
So now his kids are going to have to deal with and possibly get nothing of stuff that he didn't take care of.
Wow.
So this is not a slam on O.J. Simpson. This is me simply saying it dawned on me when I saw this, like this dude really didn't change. Apparently, according to what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
The fact he never paid the debt, never did this, and maybe he never had it. I get it, but there's ways, right? It's just sad. Maybe there was some legit traumatic brain injuries that were never diagnosed that maybe now that I know they had him cremated, but maybe there was some traumatic brain injuries from football that made it impossible for him to have certain emotions. I don't know. Those things are real.
Yeah, they are.
Junior Seau is a perfect example. That dude was like he was such a straight line football player, a good role model, really didn't have any big issues that were overwhelming while he was in his career that made it to where people didn't want to follow him. And then he'd take his life when he got done. And you're like, wow. But this traumatic brain injury that these guys have from playing years of football, they're getting concussions all the time. It scars your brain up to where you don't even have some of these cognitive abilities. And so I just hope people that are listening to this would know, like, man, don't settle. Gosh, don't settle. Like, I don't want to live my life in mediocrity. You get one. And I always think, like, no matter how much money I have, what I want people to know when I'm gone, I just want there to be a lot of people in heaven that wouldn't be there unless I had an impact in their life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Billy Graham always said it took 20 people for one person to get saved. The first 19 planted seeds and the 20th got to harvest. I just want there to be people there that wouldn't have been had I not been in their life. That's all I want.
Yeah.
The more populated I can make heaven, the better.
Good.
So one more thing. I know the church world's fully aware of this. I don't know that anybody else cares or is aware of it, but this week there was a controversial thing that took place in a massive conference in Springfield, Missouri. James River Church, which James River actually sponsored our church location in Oakland, Maryland.
Yeah.
So shout out to them.
Yeah.
I'm not taking sides on this issue, but I do want to make a statement on it because I think there's a lot of people that are asking questions. Everybody knows about it. So what happened, for those of you that may not have been informed, there was a men's conference called Stronger that James River has been doing for a long time, and it was in Missouri. And essentially at the conference, there was a performer who opened up with he took his shirt off and like on this pole like sideways. And the next day in the conference, one of the speakers came out that's been a very controversial figure in Christendom, especially with like the Calvinist doctrine, things like that. His name's Mark Driscoll. He came out and he condemned the act that took place the day before. And he said, we need to repent, that there was a Jezebel spirit. Mark Driscoll also said that he was up all night praying. That's why he had a voice that was hoarse. After that, John Lindell, the lead pastor at James River, was on the side of the stage, and he said, you're done, get off the stage. Mark Driscoll left the stage. John Lindell comes on. People are booing him because Mark Driscoll seems to do the spiritual thing. John Lindell condemns him and says, he's never talked to me about this. We talked a half an hour before today, and he never said a word to me about this.
Yeah.
And then John Lindell, Mark Driscoll come back to the stage together, and they have a conversation in front of everybody about this issue and about how brothers can disagree and still move forward in ministry.
Yeah.
And there seems to be this great kumbaya, but the internet blew up. Mark Driscoll, it comes out, Mark Driscoll got booed off or got told to leave a stage after he condemned something that took place at a conference. A lot of people are believing Mark Driscoll's a hero in this. A lot of people are looking at James River in a slanted way. I just want to talk to you. I want to talk very candidly about a couple of things because I think people are asking, like, okay, so yeah, this was wrong. This dude like comes up there and he takes his shirt off and he used to be a stripper, they said, and he climbs this pole. Well, I think the biggest issue I had with all this stuff was they're like, well, the church is over entertaining. And I'm like, well, there was a church at Super Bowl Sunday in Tennessee that was kicking a Bible.
Yeah.
They do like this thing with like the theme, and they're kicking a Bible for a kickoff. And that made the news.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, it's just a book with words. Well, that's the problem. I talked to a man yesterday who was from Africa. He pastored a mega church in Africa. And he said the number one problem with America is, he said they do so many things right in the church, but he said people don't fear God here.
Yep.
He said the way people talk to their pastors in this country would never be accepted in Africa because there's no reverence. He's like, the way you talk to your pastor is the way you feel towards God. And he said, and it's consistent. And I was taken back by it. You know, I mean, I knew it, but just his perspective on it, because he was talking about spiritual warfare and how like people value the power of God over there, because he's like, it's not that we have more spiritual warfare over there than there's in America. It's just that we pray so much that it has to show itself.
Yeah.
So these things have to manifest. He's like, they can't hide because the culture is, he's like, we pray for an hour every Friday or all night from 9 at night on a Friday till 9 Saturday morning every week. Every week we have all night prayer. Wow. And he said, we pray every Sunday before our services for 1 hour before each service. We have 1 hour that we're praying before the service. He said, so prayer is just valued differently in Africa. And he said, so when you come into those moments, things have to shift.
Yeah.
But I say that because the guy came out, the problem that I have with all this, Mark Driscoll, how I would have handled it, yeah, I'd have probably let him do his thing, let him preach afterwards, and then come up and then said, hey, and I'm looking at it in hindsight. I've had days to think about it. John Lindell's in the moment, and then come up and say, hey, listen, I understand that some of you may have misunderstood what this was, if that's the case, because seemingly Mark Driscoll understood it, but let me explain to you, let me tell you this guy's story, right? Well, the guy who did it, he came out and he made a statement, and his hold on, let me get the name for you. His name is
Alexander
Magala. So he said it wasn't a raunchy male pole dance or stripper performance. He said the one guy said Alex is at the top of his field as a master in classical 12th century martial arts acrobatic discipline called Chinese pole acrobatics, which he performed at the Olympics. He said, this is way different than a male stripper. It's like comparing classical ballet with striptease. No comparison. The convention hired Alex because the name was Strong Men, and Alex is the best at what he does. Concluding the statement, it said that he's a Christian and has always aimed to use his talents to inspire and entertain audiences in a way that respects his faith. It says, he goes on and he talks about kind of the whole conversation and, the purpose of it. But this, he said, Mark Driscoll said a Jezebel spirit opened our event, and he was trying to relate the pole to a stripper pole, as if every pole represents a stripper pole. And he was talking about the Asherah poles and how things went up. And this is the thing. Leave it to Christians to attack somebody's act that they did at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Olympics. That somebody did. This guy travels the world. He's got Guinness World Records. This guy isn't somebody that's just a no-name in the corner. I got saved. I used to be a stripper. Let me strip for the men's event. That's what people are painting it as. No, this guy is a professional. He travels the world doing this. He's like on America's top performers. Like he's gotten all these accolades. And he was a part of the 2014 Olympic Games opening ceremony. And he also has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He said at one time he worked in both, he worked in both women's and gay nightclubs as a pole dancer. And images are still on his Facebook showing Magala in sexually provocative pose and performing at a strip club. But he said he felt compelled to clarify the context and intention behind his specialty act. And so he said it's deeply rooted in historical and cultural tradition that dates back over 1,200 years and has since become a respected discipline showcasing human strength and agility. So let me say this. We can make anything what we want. I am not saying this is the greatest act to have to open up a men's conference. I'm not condoning that. I'm not saying I'm 100% supporting it. What I am saying is that this is why people don't want to walk into Christianity, because Christians give a bad so this is my problem with the whole thing. These pastors sat down, Mark Driscoll and John Lindell sat down on the stage. They talked about how they can be brothers and how Mark's a prophetic voice and how he loves John so much because John has poured into him and nobody else would. I get all that. But at the end of the day, nobody said anything about Alex.
Yep.
Nobody said anything about him.
Yeah.
So this is the guy who's a stripper, apparently, that's being just demolished with the Jezebel spirit. He came in and was paid to do an event by James River Men's Conference in a class, in something that he is highly trained in. that people want to misconstrue as a stripper, and then he gets demolished, and then it becomes about John Lindell and Mark Driscoll.
Yeah.
No, this should be about Alex.
Yeah.
This is the dude who's been just demolished online. This is a guy who's very infiltrated in different, he's respected in a lot of different circles. And we're sitting here demolishing him, and nobody says it's all about Alex or Mark and John. It's like, what about Alex? What about this guy? Why not come up and say, listen, I understand the perspective, but let me explain to you why he's here. Let me tell you his story.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why he does this.
Exactly.
Let me tell you why he's passionate about this. He does sword swallowing like this. Let me tell you about this guy and the things he does to entertain as a Christian.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought maybe there's images on his Facebook to show where he's been, but not where he's at? Like, I don't know why he has them on there.
Yeah.
I'm not defending the guy. What I'm saying is I'm defending the grace of Jesus Christ. I am over Christians demolishing people that don't fit what they think. Listen, it was not a striptease at a men's event. And when Mark Driscoll came out and said that, and he takes a knee, and I have no voice because I've been praying since 1 a.m, get over it, dude. Like, you lost your credibility, and to me, this was worse than all that he did to his churches. Like, when he lost all those churches and did all that crap, yeah, I get it. Mark Driscoll, for those of you who don't know, he went into a very dark season of ministry because he lost basically everything he ever built. And then you're invited to a men's conference, and somebody like John Lindell gave you opportunity. Then you're going to come out in his men's conference and demolish one of the acts and talk about how there's a Jezebel spirit the whole conference needs to repent for. I just want to say, who do you think you are, dog? Who do you think you are? There's a Jezebel spirit that was brought in by a performer we paid. Like, come on, dude. Like, come on, really. And everybody was clapping for him. Why? Because people love the self-righteous underdog. And it just gets to the point where I don't know why they even associate with this guy. I don't get it. I don't get why I'm not trying to demolish Mark Driscoll. I'm not. But I truly believe, I don't believe he's the prophetic voice. I believe he is, the things he did was inappropriate at every level and how he treated it. You could have had a conversation with John Lindell and he could have said, well, let me tell you about this guy. And then you just kick it right there. If I'm in an event and I'm being brought in and they're asking me to preach, and at the beginning of that event, there is a performer that I feel does something that I don't agree with in my line of faith that I feel is absolutely out of line with the word of God. I would go to the guy hosting. I would say, listen, I can't put my name on this event. This is something that took place. I'm not at peace with. I don't feel comfortable with. I need you to explain to the people why you brought this in, or I need you to help me understand I can't associate with this. There's got to be something. There's got to be a connection here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's different than going out and just bashing the entire thing. Like, that is a self-righteous, childish move as a leader. You can't, it's not even, you say, well, there's biblical things. I get it. There's scripture. You could just defend scripture with scripture. I get it. I'm just saying, I don't understand. Like, John Lindell gave this guy another chance, and he just continually undermines any opportunity he gets, in my opinion. Like, I don't understand why the church world listens to this guy. I don't understand why they listen to Mark Driscoll. I just don't get it. Because this guy was wrong. He was dead wrong. In fact, he's telling you he's up all night praying and there's a Jezebel spirit. Well, listen, he was wrong. So what is he praying? That's not the case. That's not what happened. So God is telling him something that didn't actually happen. Like, this is where I'm at. Like, somebody hold him accountable now. Hold him accountable. Because that was an embarrassment. It was an embarrassment, and my heart was broken because people that see this are the ones who are like, that's why I don't go to church. So what are you doing? That's not the right way to handle it. Do you think that's what the Apostle Paul had done or Peter would have done? And they weren't perfect. No, they would have confronted the person. They wouldn't have gone and just blasted it. Now, if it needed to be done, it needed to be done, but that wasn't the case. And I don't even know if "need to be done" is the right words. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I probably
you're doing some research over there.
Well, I'm reading the same article you were reading. I probably sit more directly in the middle. And that usually is where I stand on a lot of these things. Meaning this, I think context is everything. And I think both parties failed to bring context and story to the situation. So when I look at, Pastor John's side of things, I see a failure to bring context to Alex's story. I see a failure to bring context to a level of what this is about. Because you read it here, you read his side, and you're like, I get it. Okay, I get it. But that's important. Like, to me, if I'm sitting in a Christian event, context is everything for me. In the same way that when we read scripture,
we had tickets to this conference, by the way, VIP seats. They were sent to me to sit in the VIP section. We didn't go, but
in the same reason that I feel like we, and I use we broadly as Christians, sometimes use scripture wrong because we don't have the context. Like, context is everything. In the same way that I feel on Pastor Mark's side, context is everything. Had he known, like, had you taken the time to have a conversation, not blatantly say it out on a stage, and find these things out and talk about these things, you probably wouldn't have been quick to judge and say it's a Jezebel spirit, yada, yada. Like, I think in the church, my feelings towards this entire thing is, guys, we have to do a better job at telling people's stories. Because I 110% agree with you. This whole situation, this poor guy, Alex, no one's like, he's being maligned and everything right along with it, but yet no one told his story. No one. And so
which is the most important part of all of it.
Exactly. He is the person in the midst of all of
I'm
this.
not worried about John Lindo and Mark Driscoll getting together and getting along. I don't care about that.
Exactly.
That's fine. You guys are grown. You're spiritual leaders.
Yeah.
I would hope that that's a given and not something we have to teach.
Yeah.
Like, well, unfortunately, it is something we have to teach. Well, that's what it is. What about the guy?
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just about, if you want to make men stronger, then make them comfortable with where they came from.
Yeah.
Make them comfortable with where they're headed. It didn't make men stronger. We two spiritual leaders that can agree. Well, it made it about y'all. Like, what about the guy?
Yeah.
What about Alex?
I mean, if this guy, again, Olympian, he's been on, what is it? Something's Got Talent. America's Got Talent.
He
whatever.
won Russians Got Talent. He's been on UK's top 10 Got Talent.
This guy's clearly like comfortable on a stage. My thing would be like, before he performs, tell his story. Let him talk. Like, let him, like, how much more powerful would have that have been? And then everything is within context, and this doesn't happen. And so I think when we are like, sometimes we get in this road, I think, where he says it down here, where he's like, he's trying to inspire others. It's not just, the line is, it's essential to approach such performances with an understanding of their intention rather than reducing them to mere entertainment. Okay, well then tell us the intention. That's my thing I'm getting at. Is I understand sometimes, well, you should know the intention. Well, we all know that sometimes in the faith world, that gets very murky pretty quickly. So I'm more on the side of how much more powerful it would have been, again, not to take away his performance, but to tell his story.
Well, he's a 2-time Guinness World Record holder, 15 times Got Talent shows all over the world, first aerial sword swallower in the world, America's Got Talent champions, top performer, Britain's Got Talent champions, top performer, winner of the TV show Russia's Got Talent, most dangerous act in talent history that went viral, over 200 million views, performer of the Olympic Games opening ceremony in Sochi 2014, member of the Sword Swallowing Association International, public speaker at TED Talks, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, this guy isn't somebody's, like, he's not just like some random stripper that's opening up an event with a Jezebel spirit, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
And so my biggest thing is everything was done wrong.
Exactly.
Everything was done wrong. And the reason that this thing went viral and that John Lindo and James Rivers having to heed all of this is because, and somebody say, well, we don't need monster trucks and sword swallowers at men's events. Okay, maybe you don't. But there's nothing wrong with the church implementing something that gets guys going and does something for them, specifically for them as they're teaching the gospel. Like, there's nothing wrong. It's like, well, it's just entertainment. It's okay to be entertained.
Sure.
Christians, it's okay to be entertained.
Yeah.
Should it take over the gospel? No. The point of it is to create openings for the gospel. Mm-hmm. Right? You see all these amazing things and talk about what God can use you for. Like, it's okay. We act like it's an anti-God. No, it's not anti-God, right?
Yeah.
It's not anti-God.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's just been done wrong. It's just that simple. Like, Mark Driscoll burnt them, and he came in and did it the wrong way, and he knew what he was doing. And he looked like this, I'm going to come speak over this and be the spiritual. Like, that's just not right. John Lindo, like, all that they did, it's not even about them. I'm not defending James River or John Lindo. I'm just saying Mark Driscoll created a stir that had the appearance of spiritual power and like, God is speaking to me. And I think now when I look at this, I'm like, well, what you're saying isn't consistent with what this guy actually is.
Yeah.
And when you see the performance, the guy goes up and he takes his shirt off and he climbs the pole. When you actually know what he's doing, when you just see the clip on TikTok, you're like, wow, this is like a stripper event. But when you actually see it, like you said, in context to the opener, you're like, this doesn't feel weird at all. Like, this just feels like it honestly feels like what it is.
Tell me the context. Yep.
That's it. And you're exactly
That's
right.
all I need.
And so I'm not trying to, my thing is this, there are so many Christians that follow men that need to follow God.
Yeah.
Stop making it, oh, it's about this person or this person or this church. No, it's about Jesus. And the thing that I look at that sucks the most about this is that Jesus and the church are the ones getting the rap, because the people who really have a good heart are thinking, what about Alex? Y'all are talking about pastors. What about Alex? Because isn't that the sheep? Those are the ones that we're trying to chase. The people that are actually, the pastors already have their platform. What about Alex? Like, this dude's done bigger things than maybe anybody at that conference.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure.
So my thing is just this. I just want to hush it as far as I've had a couple people say stuff to me. We talked about it. You guys had brought it up. I didn't even know what happened in our staff meeting. And I was like, dude, we had front row seats to that event. I'm not trying to slam John Lindell, Mark Driscoll, James River. I'm trying to say, can we please just think about Alex?
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, he's the one who's getting completely pulverized.
Yeah.
And people are saying, well, Mark Driscoll's a spiritual powerhouse because he brought this out and nobody else had the guts to say it. Nobody else said it because it wasn't fact.
Yeah.
So is he the powerhouse or is he off? Because if you're up praying all night about this and then you make that statement and then the it's not valid.
Yeah.
What you said is not accurate because that's not what this guy is.
Yeah.
He's not a stripper. Yeah, he has these pictures on his website. He's not a stripper. He is doing this, and he says he is a Christian that wants to use these gifts, and God's given him a lot of platforms.
And how,
I don't know the guy, but what I know is the way he has been viewed in a light. If he was a stripper and he came to a men's event and he did that, and you're calling him out, there's still a better way to do it than what was done. To call out a Jezebel spirit, the best way to do is go to Alex, say, hey man, let me hear your story. Let me talk to you because this was not appropriate. And then you go out and you can tell everybody. But even if it went through all those filters and James River put him out there, that's a bigger question. That's the picture that people painted, but that's not the actual picture. Yeah. He's not a stripper. He used to be, but he's not a stripper. Yeah. And so my thought is, what if everybody's past was thrown out on every stage when they did something anybody didn't like? Come on, man. Like, at the end of the day, my heart was broken because we missed it. And I was just like, man, James River, and they got thrown under the bus hard. When you're looking back at it, you're like, honestly, if you're bringing this guy in, you're like, it could be a cool act. Yeah. If you really look at his stuff, you're like, this could be pretty cool.
Sure.
Right?
And explain it to me. Because how much different would it have been? They would have told his story, he'd done his act, and then Mark would have come out and still done that. Well, then all the 6,000 people in that crowd would have been like, well, I know what are you talking about? Like, I know his story. And once I know his story, again, it's everything. It literally, context is everything. Like, I agree with you. When all this was done, stop long enough. I think this is a great fact for everyone in the world anyway. Whether some Christian tells you a Bible verse and says it means this, stop long enough to actually figure out the context. And when you do that, I'm not saying the whole do your own research political thing. I'm literally saying just slow down enough, because I think it gives us grace and mercy. Figure out the context. And when you have it, because we went through this roller coaster on Tuesday, but once you read it all and you find it all, you're like, okay, I get it. I get it.
Well, the only reason I'm even talking about it on here is it's a close connection to us, in that James River.
Yeah.
I went to that church for years.
Mm-hmm.
They gave to our Oakland campus, and Mark Driscoll has a history of, it's one thing to say things to stir a pot, but let me tell everybody out there, you're not going to preach a message that's never been preached. You're not going to discover something about the Bible nobody's ever been told. The Bible doesn't need rediscovered. It just needs preached the way that it is.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with any person, but what I will say with a guy like Mark Driscoll, I don't subscribe to his theology. I will say that very vocally because he's wrong. But I will say that the way that he approached that moment was wrong. So for God, my problem is this: people listen to who they consider a spiritual leader that says he woke up at 1 a.m. and that God told him this. And so he comes out and shares it on a stage. I'm like, so if you've been awake for 10 hours and you come out on a stage and you're saying you prayed to God all night, then you're saying that this is what you're supposed to be doing. You bypass spiritual authority. You bypass leadership to call everybody on the carpet. And it's not even right. You're wrong. Your story is wrong.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I
my
agree with
point
that.
is we got to stop following people that are giving us one-liners that aren't consistent with truth. That is not, what he did is not consistent with how God would go about this.
Yeah.
That's not what, if you went to John Lindell and he says, I don't care what you say, and then you go out and say, I can't preach here because of this, that's one thing. And if that guy's really a stripper, but the fact that it was an act brought in, this guy's traveling the world doing it, and he never said a word to John Lindell, and he comes out and makes a big deal out of nothing, that's my problem. Is that you are being divisive, period.
Yeah,
period.
It's the same point, though. Again, I could also look at that side and say, we can calm down a little bit. It was done wrong, for sure. But being someone who's a part of the creative process of a lot of church things, there's filters there, too. There's filters on both sides that got broken, where I'm like, look, had you had the filter on the front end, it avoids all of this.
But do you feel like now that you know this, that you would not bring that guy in? Now that you know the context, do you feel like that?
No, now that I know the context,
like,
I'm like, guys, we set the ball up on the tee and we whiffed because we didn't tell this guy's story. That's how I feel.
Yeah,
I feel a side of like, because again, within the lens of the world right now, this whole thing that has gone viral, nobody has the context of anything. You have to go digging and searching for it, and once you find it, it calms you down
100%.
So I think even on Mark Driscoll's side, there's a side of like, yeah, dude, absolutely. You got like all puffed up but that doesn't happen if you have context as well too. And so I think there's lessons on both sides of like, stop. There is a level of like this kind of very over spiritualize every kind of thing is like, okay, calm yourself down first and go about this the right way. Like you're saying, go about it the right way. But again, I
have
can
conversations.
I can see it from the other planning side of things too. But guys, like this, there's a heavy importance is to like,
if this is going to come across like this, but they didn't know. But my point is this. I agree with you. There's got to be filters on both sides. Things done. My biggest point is this. That caused a viral moment that never had to be had.
Yep.
You created an unbelievable stir coming out of a conference that had a lot of great things. Over 500 men got saved.
Mm-hmm.
You created this based on your whiff of how you perceived things.
Yes.
That's my problem.
Yep.
Is like coming out of this, what the world is seeing is not what God did in those men.
Yep.
They're seeing this and they're tearing the church in half over it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's divisive.
Yeah.
And that's where I have the issue. I don't have a problem with Calvinists. If people, what that means for those of you listening, it means that they believe God pre-picks everybody, that you don't choose, that God picks who he wants to be in heaven. It's not a theology it's not the word of God, right? I'm simply saying I love Calvinists. I love Arminians. Based on your theology, it does not disqualify you from me loving you or God loving you. So that's not what I'm saying. I have no problem with people that preach different doctrines or different truths or different theologies. I really don't. Meaning like I don't hate you. I don't have those. My thing with this particular character that we're talking about is that there has been a lot of divisive things come out of him that he feels like are spiritual, that's trying to lead the church, but he's fighting against the goads because he's the voice. And this is another one of them. This is another one of his things that show, has this dude really changed?
Yeah.
Well, to me, this is why I'm so passionate about it. Because I was at Evangel University in the early 2000s when his theology was flying around and people were getting really confused right before he lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes back and does this. This is why I have a problem with this guy. There's got to be a level of humility and brokenness. And until that happens, and people say, well, he is humble and broken. Okay, that's fine. Maybe I'll one day walk into him at an event. I don't know. And I don't have a problem with him. Say, hey, man. You know,
well, I think there's a level too.
My point is, this is something for me that I am passionate about.
Yeah.
Because we're out here trying to get people to know Jesus, the one that loves, and you have people up there slamming people. You can't have that, period.
Sure.
And that's why I'm passionate.
Yeah.
Like that evangelism heart in me, I just hate the perspective sometimes we paint for people that's just not right. And it drives me to a place of deep, deep pain and frustration.
Yeah.
And coming out of this, I can't stop thinking about Alex.
For sure. And that's, 110%.
That's why I'm frustrated.
Agree on
He's like,
that.
dude, and not just, well, you just made a mistake. No, you made a mistake on a national stage that went viral.
Yeah.
There's got to be a filter.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at.
Sure. I agree.
Period.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, final thought.
Here's my final thought.
Hey, all of y'all are called to great things, but one thing I've learned about coaching, I've coached every level. I've coached 10Us, I've coached 8U, I've coached 9U, I've coached 11U, 12U. I've coached every age of kid really up to 13, 14. And no parent will ever love the coach more than they love their kid. No matter how much you think they love you, no matter how much you think they support you, you're the greatest coach until you bench their kid. You're the greatest coach until Johnny's not developing the way they want. You're the greatest coach until you go, nothing helps coaching better than winning. I will say that.
Oh, yeah.
You could be the worst coach ever. People question you. Then you start winning. They think you're the greatest coach ever.
Yep.
They'll forget you the minute their kid isn't doing well. And it's something God gave me a couple of weekends ago. We played in a tournament and we did not do very well. And I was frustrated because most of the teams, I've never gone into a tournament and come out. We were 1-3 in this tournament, and I've never coached a team in a tournament where we haven't been at least 500. And I don't say that as a bragging. I say that as this particular tournament I put us in. It was a tournament had some of the best teams. Like one of the teams was ranked number 7 in the nation last year. Like these were amazing teams, and we honestly should have been at least 2-2, if not 3-2 by the time it was over, but we just didn't play well. It was cold. The tournament we were at 4 different locations within 24 hours. It was tournament ball at its finest. It was just cold. We were all over the place. It was a long day. We played 13 hours the first day, came back up, had 8:00 games both days. And I know anybody that plays travel ball, like that's normal for tournament ball. But it was just a brutal competition. It wasn't that we weren't ready. The kids needed to see it so we could be ready for the next phases because we're playing some big tournaments. But what I learned is that I've never felt a team heavier after an event like that. Like, man, we got a lot to work on. But really, I brought us there to get a kind of an equilibrium about how good we were. And I think we're a really good team. But this particular tournament, we didn't play great. And what I realized is that God just said, Brandon, in your life, you're going to do a lot of things for me. Just rise above it. And what that meant was kids matter, parents matter, records matter, church matters, your kids matter, Brandon, your wife matters, your staff matters. But you're always going to have people just like this. Mark Driscoll may be listening to this and thinking, this guy hates me. I don't hate you. But I think what Mark Driscoll is probably maybe something he has learned that is something I'm trying to learn. And whenever he goes viral, because he's been viral a lot, or maybe John Lindell or whatever we just talked about, was that just rise above it. Like learn how to get above it and just keep moving. Maybe they haven't, maybe they have. I don't know. But I think what I've learned in a lot of guys who are ballers at big levels is that they've learned how to just rise above it. And it's not just rising above the hate, but rising above it. And I think that this is something that God has shown me recently is that, Brandon, the more I give you, the more you do, the more boo birds are going to be out. Rise above it. And I think for all of you, may feel discouraged today. You may feel overwhelmed. You may feel like you don't have what it takes. Rise above it. God's going to do it in your life. And rise above it, meaning you're saying, well, how do I get there? First, the mindset saying, okay, all that stuff, it's behind me. I got to keep going. And I think that's the best place to start. Let me pray for you. Lord, I thank you so much for each and every person, each and every listener. We love you. We're grateful for you. I pray over each person today that feels lost, each person that feels like they're looking for direction, each person that feels like they don't know the next day and what it holds and the peace that comes with that. I pray they would feel peace that passes understanding with you. We love you, praise you, thank you, adore you. And everybody said, amen. Hey, we'll see you this weekend, 9:30 Palms Church. We love you guys.